Um, it's been a lot of rugby happening over the weekend, and of course, across the week with so much news going on, and it's always been nice to hear or to indulge and involve and digest all this rugby while enjoying an L special. Another episode of the Fat Cats Rugby Podcast here at the Gardens, Nigeria. For those that are watching, of course, in our background, you can see some people that have taken an initiative to do something about their health with a workout, and that's just one of the things that that the Gardens, Nigeria is known for. But my name is Reuben Kihumuro, and we're here yet again for another episode with Edwin Wawire. Edwin, when was the last time we had what we used to call a closed door and indoor podcast without any particular guests?
It's a unique day because I think I'm the only fat cat who has been counted in the census, so that's why we decided to do that.
Interesting. I'm eager to know what questions they asked you, because I think for us we are in Uganda C, because they have not yet even thought about.
The guy was very gentle and told me I'm going to ask some questions that might be affect you.
Did they ask you how many times
They asked me
you do things
they asked
in
me
it?
if I'm single.
How did you answer that one?
I said, do you see anyone here? I'm all alone. There's no one here, so the house is quiet. Yeah,
as long as there's no one in the house, you're single.
Yeah, there's no one in the house, I'm single. So he asked me, did anyone stay here on census nights? I was like, I wish. But things did, the math did math, so I was there, feeling busy.
But for us, when will they count us? I don't know. I think ours, we shall just send them on email.
They'll count you guys at KP over the weekend.
Yeah. But a lot of rugby has been going on, and there's a lot that we're going to talk about. But before we even get into what happened over the weekend, last week we did talk about, of course, the announcement of the Uganda Sevens. And then just after we had finished the podcast, they also announced the Lady Cranes Sevens team. We did touch on a couple of things with the Uganda Sevens and everything that's happening. But I don't know if there's something in particular that you would want us to look at when it comes to the Lady Cranes.
Yeah, I think the ladies, they just have one job to do. I've seen some pictures when they're in Poland already.
Both teams have landed safely, which is good. We thank God for that.
Yeah, I think the ladies just need to do the thing and finish in the top 4 places. Actually, I would think they would need, this is the circuit. If Dubai was one where they went with a little bit of ease of mind, not much expectations, not saying that they did it that way, but this is now the circuit where they should actually go to win it. Being on the cusp of 4th is not something very, very comfortable.
You can easily sleep.
You can easily sleep. You're just one game away, one quarter final away from being knocked out. That is if we get to that point. So every game for the ladies is a final. I think they are maintaining the same squad consistently. I think I just saw that maybe Sandra Molly is not there in the team. Maybe the coach will confirm. We'll get that news particularly and share. But the ladies, particularly for them, all they need to do is just be able to participate and give us a show in Poland. I think one of the unique things is that the games coincide with the men same time. And for me, I'll not lie, I will rewind the men's games. I won't focus on the women. Okay. The women have to go and win at all costs.
Yeah, of course, the men and the women are totally different parts of their journey. The men look like they're in a bit of a rebuild, and Coach Tolly is trying to understand, besides his usual core, who else can he trust to go forward. The women, of course, Coach Onen is really focused on who can get the job done, of course. Maybe just quickly perusing through the lineups for those that hadn't yet seen them. For the men, of course, Alex Aturinda is traveling, Timothy Mugisha, Davis Chimwa, Aaron Tukey, William Kore, who's captain, Norbert Okeny Sexton, Dennis Etwao, Marco Suna, Karima Renaitwe, Alan Olango, Roy Kizito, and Mubarak Wandera are those that made the trip. A lot of significant names not in the Uganda Sevens. And then when it comes to the ladies, Grace Nabagala, Peace Lekuru, captain, Agnes Nakuya, Lydia Namabiro, Mary Gloria Ayot, Juliet Nandaula, Maimuna Nasozi, Unity Namlala, Gertrude Katesa, Grace Auma, Sarah Chirabo, and Rita Nadunga are the ladies traveling that have already traveled actually. For those that don't know, the ladies are in Krakow, Poland, and the men are in Germany, Munich. I don't know if they'll get a chance to go by the Allianz Arena and check out the Bayern home ground, but yeah, that is the case. And just remaining on that particular topic, let's start and focus on the pool stages of the ladies. Of course, Pool A having China, Thailand, Hong Kong, China, and this is must be Czech Republic. And then Pool B having Argentina, Uganda, Paraguay, and Papua New Guinea. And then Pool C having Belgium, Poland, Kenya, and Mexico. In our particular pool, Argentina, Paraguay, and Papua New Guinea, who do you think is our biggest threat?
I think it's Argentina. Argentina beat us in Dubai. I think they beat us in Dubai. That was in the, was it China? I think they beat us in Dubai or in Uruguay. So they beat us in the final, and then I think we also played them in Uruguay in the group stages. So by far they are miles ahead. But what our ladies have consistently showed is that they can also try and match up as and when is necessary. So for them, I'm expecting them to step up the plates and be able to perform as much as possible. We'll need those big carries from our big girls, Peace, Mary Gloria Yot, and Lydia Namabiro to carry hard, Grace Aoma to play make and get those spaces, as well as Grace Navagal as well. So those ladies are going to be very, very important, not to undermine the other opponents, but I do believe that the Lady Cranes, in their current position and what's at stake, they very much have enough to get over the line. I would just very much want to see that. I think the passing channels, I think that has been a major concern. We play a lot of short ball, and I think that's why we notice we are dominant in collisions until we meet a team that is very good at the breakdown, and then the ladies are exposed at that particular front. But I am very much confident that given those two particular sides, Argentina, I think what we should use Argentina's game for is a test for what the quarterfinals as well as semifinals will be like. So let's push Argentina to the limits, give them the challenge of their lives. And just, you see these things, it's just a yellow card, a forward pass, an intercept, and then we are in the game. And considering where the girls have reached from where they started last year, many good things lie ahead for them. So this is just this one circuit where they have to put in the most in what they do. I think one of the things notably in Belgium, the Belgium fixture, I think we played Belgium in the group stages and then we lost to them, and then we managed to beat them 12-5 with Grace Navagala scoring that wonder try that got the commentators running crazy. That's the kind of level of ladies rugby we want to see. The aggression, the arrogance, no need to fear the opponent, just going hard and smashing them as and when necessary. It's very important that these girls get that win. So I would very much want to see by end of Saturday that the ladies have 3 out of 3 as wins, and they go ahead picking out the easy quarterfinal. As long as they secure semi-final berth, we are going to Madrid.
Okay. I think for me, I'm just happy that this time around we have avoided China, which is a team that we have not been able to touch. And of course, if we are to make the playoffs, we will have to figure out a way of beating China regardless if we meet them. But for now, at least our work is cut out for us with the Lady Crane Sevens, that they need to get out of the group and they need to make sure that they make the semis. And interesting to note, of course, the teams in the event that we qualify for the playoffs that are going to be in Madrid, coming from the core side that are also going to be playing in this particular playoff. Remember, there are 4 teams from the core side that are in what you'd call the relegation, and then there are the 4 challenger teams that are going to contest with those teams, and then you play in 2 pools, and then they will pick out, I think, the top 4 who will now be going to join the core, and that is where we are all looking at. Of course, for the teams that are now in the relegation zone of the Ladies Sevens core World Series, that is Japan, Spain, Brazil, and South Africa rather.
No, those are not pushover teams. So
yeah, none of them is a pushover team.
Yeah.
In Pool A, which has Japan and Spain, That is where challenger rank 1 will
Yes.
be, and then challenger rank 4. And then in Pool B, which has Brazil and South Africa, will have challenger challenger rank 2 and challenger rank 3.
Gatekeeping as always, man. Rugby.
Do you think that this is a sustainable model, both in the men and the women? Because this is the same model with the men. Of course, Kenya are the ones that have a realistic chance when it comes to the men's side of things. For us, in the men, we are really we made our peace with that. We're not going to make the playoffs, and it's all about rebuilding. But do you think this is a sustainable model? First of all, now World Rugby with the men has cut it from 16 to now 12.
Yeah.
And then of those 12, you have to get in with this model. Is this something that is inclusive and sustainable for sevens rugby?
The way they do their things is unique, I must say. One of the things of inclusivity, one of the things rugby is praised for is inclusivity. But from that particular perspective, you would look at it and you're wondering, well, they had to trim the teams from 16 to 12 because they wanted to use the World 7 Series as a pathway qualification route for the Olympics.
Yeah.
So that was number one. That's why they had to cut it. And we saw teams like UK, England, and the Wales joining to form Great Britain and the like. I think maybe with time it will kind of it will leave the game static in the sense that if for one weird season we have New Zealand, Fiji, South Africa, and then maybe Argentina failing, and then they're like, oh, they're going to drop.
The bottom four ranked.
Bottom four ranked. So they'll come and play the Ugandas of this world, the Kenyas, and the Germanys. It's maybe if it could be automatic, once you finish in bottom four, you're relegated. You go back and start again, like how it used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
But now it's a little bit complicated. I think I like the fact that the Challenger Series is now diverse. They have tried to spread it as circuits. Maybe, if possible, depending on how they do their funding and the like, if they could increase the circuits to maybe 5 for Challenger Series, give it something worth going forward to or something like that. Because to use 3 circuits, because you see, like, for example, Uganda, we woke up in Uruguay, and to wake up in Uruguay, we had to reach the final and win. Now, when we got knocked out by Kenya in quarters, by the way, Uganda has never reached the semi-final of Challenger Series in the men. So when we fell there, basically this trip to Munich became obsolete at the time when we failed that final score of 7-5 at that particular point. So it just shows that they maybe need to do, I know it's an odd number of 3, but maybe let's put it into perspective and give 5. Let's see more rugby for the sevens tier 2 sides that play in the Challenger Series. And give us reason to at least watch in different jurisdictions. I think from what has transpired, everyone has showed that they can be able to attend and participate in these things in this particular tournament. So would very much want to see maybe more circuits that can give, because I very much feel undone by what happened to Uganda in Dubai, and then the bounce back in Uruguay, and now Munich basically became something that couldn't even really put up a realistic fight. We're just maybe going to say, if Kenya is going to qualify, let's cock block them.
The silver lining for me is the fact that we get to try out some different people in the sevens team, and we can see who really can hold their fort in the event that we don't have our mainstays, our stars in the team. But that's something we have to all look out for those that are going to be watching the games that are going to be happening this weekend. And just look out for all the action. The ladies will be playing, the men will be playing. More emphasis this time around is going to be on the ladies, of course, because they have a bigger prize to go for. The men, we just have to make sure that that they are doing well. Hopefully, I think even just getting out of the group would be a good one. But we are excited to know that, okay, this is a new group and we don't have way too many expectations, but we are eager to see what's going to happen. But anyway, okay, aside from all that and everything, I think maybe just one pointer before I leave all this. I personally think that if they could find ways to increase the number of teams on this global series, I think it makes more sense. when it comes to inclusivity, as is claimed. I'm sure, of course, it does dig deep in people's pockets, but if we can have more teams and maybe try to stretch out some of these circuits, then perhaps we can sell some of these events to the more attractive venues for some of these brands. Let's say if you give Hong Kong one or two circuits, I mean, if I'm being honest, if I have Hong Kong or if I have Las Vegas, and I know that I'm getting a shit ton of money, sorry for cursing, from those ones, why should I give New Zealand a circuit if I know that their population is about 4 million or so and they don't really bring in all that revenue? Why not give some of those things? We should also not be obliged so much to have the core sides have to host home circuits if it does not make financial sense. So there's a balance we need to find between commercial viability and the different locations, but also making sure that we do not use that as a reason to punish and limit the numbers, because we are trying to also make the resources work versus the number of teams. That's, anyway, my opinion.
Yeah, that money issue, I mean, viability of locations, you can even just bring it back down to Uganda. Like saying, for example, as we discussed the playoffs and where the final would be, everyone would be like, where do you think the final would be best utilized? So
yeah,
I think the venue also counts very much to where the game can grow. I think the game just needs some sort of aggressive marketing, particularly similar to what Drive Survive is. If we could have something similar along those lines as the Six Nations thing on Netflix and other platforms as well. If you could just have something along those lines that can make rugby something commercial, like how Netflix did FIFA, it's something we would very much want to see. I think our boys would very much want to go and maybe, apart from Dubai, go to another Arab country, maybe Qatar, and play rugby from there and see how it's possible, and also travel to Europe as much as possible, get those stamps in the passport.
I mean, if you even have these teams bid for them, for these events, I think it would be something that could bring in some revenue for World Rugby. But anyway, that's a whole conversation for another day, something that we would really spend a whole podcast on. But before we go to our next topic, of course, for those that are seeing in the background, as mentioned earlier, that the Gardens Nigeria is one of those locations that has a number of unique experiences that you can take part in. You can see that on top of having a good time, your health is a priority. Mondays and Wednesdays are all also about the workouts, the health, the fitness, and that is, of course, from 5 p.m. onwards. But also their program for the week is very, very enticing. I mean, from the Mondays where you have the workouts, to the Tuesdays where you have quiz, to Wednesday where you have quiz, and where you have reggae rather, and also you have the workouts. Thursdays you have rock, and then Fridays you have the old school. So pick your poison, or rather pick your fun. You look at that experience and just make sure you come through and enjoy. And for those that are also looking to have an avenue of private parties and something that they can have as a gathering of people that know each other, the Gardens Nigeria is one of those locations. And of course, as well, special mentions to our sponsor and our partner, Nile Special. Just make sure that you are enjoying your Nile Special and you're above 18 to enjoy the product. Enjoy your rugby while you enjoy your Nile Special. So let's quickly jump into the Women's Rugby Premiership. Black Pearls at this point are really champions. There's nothing much that can be done. Interestingly, over the weekend they didn't play their final game, which has been pushed to this weekend. Of course, there are a number of reasons that happened. The allusion to the fact that there was schools and everything that needs to happen. Of course, no official confirmation was put out.
Yeah.
Of course, me on the hypothetical side of things, I'm thinking that it would be a good coronation with the crowd this particular weekend to be where Black Pearls is going to be given their trophy in front of a big crowd before the semi-final of the Pirates. Yes. I think it would be more visibility than the previous weekend. But another season unbeaten for the Black Pearls.
Yeah.
And in the sevens, in the league rather, it has been considerably close to 3 years in the league of unbeaten rugby. What do the rest of the chasing pack need to do, man, to really at least try and match up? with the Black Pearls.
Yeah, I think you can't undermine what they have done over this period of time. I think it goes to show that in developing women's rugby, you just need to go back to the grassroots and start from scratch. I think when we had our fun interaction here, Leah was saying that Thunderbirds is the home of Ugandan rugby for women.
Yeah.
But now you could confidently argue that Black Pearls are putting up a claim for that particular title. Maybe they should say front runners of Ugandan women's rugby or something along those lines. And if there was any reason to doubt that, I think when they did their tour, was it last year or the other year? And when they played, I think, was it Saracens, Impala Saracens, the ladies team, and they beat them 21-0. Was also a testament to show that the ladies in that particular team don't take this thing called rugby lightly. They are formidable. They always know how to put up a challenge. And it seems from the coaching and the players, they are very much determined and they know what to do in instances of this nature. So for them, I think when they look at the league, they sit down and structure their season, and they very much be able to perform at a higher level. Very much interesting. As I said last week, I think what I'm interested in now is the national team, how it translates into the national team, particularly 15s. The men have been training. I think the ladies have not been maybe resources or the like, but I very much want to see that training camp of the women and see what they are going to bring coming into, I think, secure tests of Tunisia and Elgon Cup. I'd very much want to see what the women are going to bring, and would very much want to see Black Pearls at the forefront of contributing to that team.
Yeah, I think it only makes sense for them to have the core of the players in the 15s team, because they have been the standout when it comes to the local team. But anyway, Black Pearls use She-Wolves and Panthers are the 4 teams that have not yet played their final game of the season. Thunderbirds is done, Avengers is done, and the Nile Rapids are done. The gap between Black Pearls and Thunderbirds at the moment is 54 and 50, with a game in hand, of course, for the Black Pearls. But what do you think, from your opinion, should be or can be done to make women's rugby more appealing next season?
I think increasing the teams made it better, and the guarantee of no relegation.
Do you think they should increase on this number as well? Because there are rumors that
if there are teams in the north that have the capacity, I think before they do that, they need to first benchmark. I think personally, what I would think is that if they are going to add on any team, for example, from northern Uganda or the like, they would very much need to be interested in the team that is going to be promoted. So if a team from northern Uganda is promoted, or from the east or from the west, as the technical union, that would give me an angle to see how I can bring in a ladies team as well from one of those regions. So I would use depending on capacity and whatever, I would use the benchmark of if you're from this region has been promoted, and if they have the capacity to actually go ahead and participate, because now it comes down to things like logistics. Are we going to have support for transport? Are we going to have support for ladies who will turn up? Because I don't think we've had any issue with walkovers this season.
No, that's actually, I think it's a tick.
They have not had any issues of walkovers. They have actually been playing. So I wouldn't want a situation where we add on another team and then it becomes walkover play, where it becomes, I think Black Pearls would very much be annoyed if they are given a walkover, yet they wanted to drop maybe 100 or something like that. So I think that's the first area. If they could increase, and the increment of teams has to be, I would think the team that comes through the central, western, eastern, and northern competition has to be one of the key considerations they'll use. Then when you look at other aspects, I think what to improve the ladies rugby, I think as Fat Cats, we have done our part, trying to cover a few games. I think we had a podcast with the Panthers ladies on Women's Day. Basically trying to get an understanding. I think before you fix the issues that are in women's rugby, you need to first understand them.
Yes.
That's a very important thing. So if we can sit down with these ladies in their different capacities, captains, TMs, coaches, legends, and we understand the underlying issues, is then when you can easily make a plan. Because I can easily sit here and say, these ladies didn't do this and do that, but you don't know the background story for what this particular thing happened. So I think the interaction with some of these ladies is very important.
Yeah.
It gives you perspective, and perspective in rugby is very important. Perspective in your kicker's mind will determine whether you will kick or not. So I think also to find out what the ladies' issues are. I think also it always comes down to the conversation about money and sponsorship. I think this is where many people get it wrong. We try to think that because we have something that sponsors will automatically come and support, but there are some analytics, boardroom things, and whatever budgets that come into that. So getting a sponsor, I think of the teams that is sponsored, I think it's Lone Africa that sponsors Black Pulse. I'm not sure if others, maybe they have. I think the bungee jump also helps some at times now Rapids. Yeah, that's what I know of head. But you will see that the sponsorship is an issue, but to get many people on board, it will take time. And I think having the ladies go to Madrid in one way or the other can help the bigger picture to invite someone on board to see what they can do and support. Yeah, because you'll always say that the ladies, you're a lady-run organization, why don't you bring money? But it's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
Yeah, so it's not easy to sponsor them. So I know the men have many sponsors, but to get that trickle down to the ladies, maybe when the men perhaps are negotiating, maybe they could put in a small cabo for the ladies as well, to get whatever they can for them. And then maybe also, I don't know if the ladies are also on the 10 million of the URU, 10, 20 million, I don't know what it is now.
I don't think they are.
If there's an avenue where they can get that, I think it will be very helpful. That's the only way we can grow them. Because if you have realized, the women play rugby, and that's what guys don't get. There are very many women's games that are very interesting compared to the men.
Yeah.
You'll go and watch the games and you'll come out way more value for money than the men. So even when you watch the women's sevens and you see the way they play, the rack execution, the line breaks and whatever, you realize that there are very many things that can be utilized from this, but it all comes down to the aspect of money. No money, that's how we end up being in this position.
Yeah, definitely, I do agree. A lot of things start with resources. How much money or support we can get for the teams that are playing. And I do agree with you, like you said, the viability in the fact that for the teams that might come into the fray, are they also in a position to honor all their obligations? Special mentions to Nile Rapids and She-Wolves for making all their way trips, and that is a feat that should not be undermined for Uganda Rugby in a time where even the men had some of the upcountry teams missing games, especially now when teams would lose, they would be like, why are we traveling for certain games? But these guys kept traveling, and those ladies really deserve their flowers for that. I do think also, yes, rugby needs to be packaged as women's rugby especially needs to be packaged as one. If we are having, for instance, now that the women, I pray that they go to Madrid, how are we packaging that as a whole experience to sell women's rugby in the country and sell that to sponsors and brands and all that, in that from the point of women's rugby to the clubs and everything, from where these girls come to play for the national team, how can we be able to package something and do that? And also building conversations. If you've seen, one of the things that has really put out a lot of exposure for the men is the fact that you have Cobbs versus Heathens, and you have it is Michael Okorach, or let's say Malcolm Okello versus Josiah Sepeke or Joseph Aredo in regards to kicking. You have Aaron Ofoeros taking on, let's say, Ian Munyani as 7 stars. How can we also perpetuate those rivalries between teams and also between personalities within teams? Many of the people that support rugby don't even know who some of the personalities are that are in these women's rugby teams. How can we change that narrative? I cannot support a team when you do not put a face on that team. And that's from a marketing standpoint, I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's something we have to focus on. But then also, just looking at women's rugby and how everything is going, how are we also making sure that next season we continue to tie these games to the men's games, because we're still creating awareness for the women's rugby, that every time there is a big game happening, how are we making sure there is a women's game happening at that same location? It might not be favorable to what they call home ground and away ground, but sometimes we need to do certain things because we're looking at the bigger picture and we're trying to sell that. But so there's a lot that can happen, but I think there are a lot of wins that we can pick on from women's rugby this season. But yeah, anyway, as we jump into the next part of our conversation, for those that are watching, we do still have merchandise, Fat Cats merch for you to get. As we always say, dress good, feel good. Make sure that you're getting yourself, if it's a cold day or a cold evening like this one, are you putting on your jumper? You can have one that just has the Fat Cats logo, or you can have one that's customized with wording that you want. Of course, we do thank all those that have been placing in their orders and the deliveries that have been made, and those that are being made. We also continue to appreciate that, but make sure you order your bucket hats, make sure you order your crop tops, your tees, your jumpers and all that, and just get in touch with the Fat Cats. The contacts will be shared as well, or reach out to any Fat Cat you can get access to. So jumping in,
the only reason Reuben is putting on his jumper is to cover his Arsenal L. He's in his Arsenal jersey today. That's the only reason why. You tell him, Reuben, I give you 100K if you have another jersey apart from Arsenal under there.
Show me the 100K.
It's on my phone.
This mobile,
take.
This mobile
managers. That's the only reason he's putting on his jumper, because he's an L.
This is a rugby podcast, but I'm going to say this. I believe, and I hope this can be clipped out. I believe, and the beauty of sport is that it inspires hope and belief. Saturday is the day when we shall decide. Nothing is done. Nothing is over. No one is the champion. Friends of West Ham.
Motivational speaker.
Friends of West Ham.
Trusting London teams.
Tottenham is...
Where you're going to pass...
Tottenham is a shot.
You're going to pass near Upton Park to advertise. Do they still even play at Upton Park? That's how
Tottenham is very unserious. But I hope that David Moyes' final game for West Ham can be able to bring us some good light. We have never done anything bad to you, David Moyes. If you're listening to this,
it's the hope that kills. Ask Liverpool about the other season.
The only thing that keeps us supporting Arsenal is hope. Otherwise, we'd have child out long tea. So, but anyway, going back to the rugby. First leg of the semi-finals, playoffs, the main. Cobs 18, Heathens 29. That was at Legends. Mike Otto and Derek Tukwasibe with the tries for Cobs. In the second half, they scored late in the game. Michael Okorach, Innocent Gokto, one of those players that this season has been doing a lot of good things, but not getting so many plaudits from all the things he has been doing. But yet again, he scored over the weekend. 2 tries apiece. The difference was in the kicks. The conversions, of course, Josiah Sempeke was 1 out of 2. Malcolm Okello was 2 out of 2. In the penalties, Joseph Aredo did not score, but he had 1 attempt. Sempeke had 2 out of 4, and then Malcolm Okello had 5 out of 7. Before you go into even the second one, this particular game, from your observation, what went wrong, what went right?
Yeah, Cobb started off well. They managed to attack the line of Heathens. And Heathens were very much guilty of infringements. The infringements were piling up. I think rotating around, hands on the ground. I think maybe 1 or 2 of offside.
Yeah.
Many of offside that were not called as well. Yeah, they didn't, especially on the protecting eager in defense to try and protect their turf.
Who's supposed to be paying attention to that? Because I think it's a common thing that's complained about in rugby.
You see, the thing about offside.
Is it about the ARs?
The thing about offside is, even if you have played rugby for some time, you can easily tell from afar that someone is offside. So I think they were called on some, then others towards the end. But you could argue that because they resulted in 2 tries that you've not heard about it a lot. Yeah, but then all of a sudden they tried to go for poles. Aredo missed one. Then because of injuries and rejigging of the back line, Josiah Sempeke came on and played fullback, and Adrian Kasitop was pushed to the wing.
Okay.
The collusions were in plenty. The guys were hitting each other. The collusions were in plenty. The guys, I think, and even Timothy Mudola said this, that Heathens became very, very aggressive on the breakdown. And I think maybe he mentioned for a second or two, Cobbs kind of had very many racks that were a little bit unsecure.
Okay.
And there were instances where that was punished on their particular end. I think one of them was that darting run by Morgan Odoch, who eventually even had come back from the sin bin and got, I think, entered the Cobs 22 after a long chase. And then they managed to score a try in the corner, Michael Okorach. I think that particular game, as we had discussed here, was that we expected Cobs to dominate the scrums, which they usually did. Their lineouts were perfect. They threw well. I think both sides had good throws in and out. Perhaps Isometrics will break that down as well. But I think it came down now to the breakdown, and not to preempt the discussion of what needs to be done in the second leg, but Cobs needs to assert itself more on the breakdown.
Okay.
Very much. I felt in the second half they were very aggressive on the breakdown, and that helped them get some penalties additionally, because they were putting Heathens on pressure whenever they would try to steal the ball or try to contest on the rack. So all those calls would come up, the offside and the whatever. So I think Cobs, if they need to do that, they need to play that kind of style. And also, I think I don't think this will change, but the fact that Adrian went to 9 meant that they played a faster ball kind of game. And their ability to carry, when Chimboa came on, Mike Otto, those are big boys who can carry. They managed to do that. Now, what Heathens managed to do very, very well is that they are clinical. They don't waste time. They kind of like understand that this is a phase. You will either concede or the other team will fail to score. So they kind of take things in stride. One of the key things I noticed was when Mike Otto scored his try, and a few Heathens players were disgruntled with how it happened. Michael calmed them down and said, look, there are only 7 minutes left. Relax. We got this. Let's kill off this game. Rather unfortunate, they managed to concede another try with the conversion. But that goes to show that the level at which they are at is that they are very much aware that despite the fact that we're playing a game to win, at times you'll have moments where things may not necessarily work out. And in doing so, the coming presence of such leaders is very, very important. And I think the Heathens basically have the ball carrying forwards who can easily break past the gain line and get them yardage. I think Morgan Odoch was a problem for them to deal with, particularly. He carried a lot. Had it not been for the kicks of Malcolm or even the plays of maybe Michael Okorach and the like, Odoch would have been man of the match. Got a yellow card, came back, played immensely. He did not let anything pass him. And I think his strength is how explosive he is in attack. He's like a small generator that just keeps on powering everything. So he always, and from the looks of things, it looks like he always breaks the first tackle. For most of the times you see the collusions, even when the tackler looks like he has gotten him, he always tries to break it. And that's something that is very, very important going into that particular game. And also Heathens, I think the fact that they had also Aaron back. Aaron did not hide this from the onset of the game. I think he missed 2 drop goals, 1 or 2. There was a particular kick where Cobbs kicked off, I think, a missed penalty. And they drop out. They kicked it back. So Aaron got it. And then we saw him going into that stance of the drop goal. He missed it, but it goes to show that they are very much aware that this is a points game. And I think even that's something Heathens has always done. When you look at the game against Rams in the Uganda Cup final, they did not waste time saying that Rams is maybe a minor side, let's go for a line out like other teams would do. They took the 3 points at the particular point was like 12-6. Then the try machine started. And when they start, they don't stop. So that's the thing. They played very, very hard, Ethans, and they managed to disorganize Cobs. I think their area of concern going into this game is that they managed to let in those late 12 points. That Cobs managed to get, and pushing the scoreline from nearly game that was nearly done and dusted to one that is still a close affair. So they would very much want to be mindful of that 11-point gap. I know Cobs has not won a title in a long time, but with the players that they have now, the fact that it's wider, you have Ian, you have Adrian, you can never put it past them to do some damage. But I very much think that it's going to be a game that will be watched by very many at Chadon.
We saw you putting on a Heathens jersey.
Yeah.
So does that mean that I don't know how, because we are trying to question your objectivity right now.
I'm returning the jersey to the owner. It was just on loan.
Do you think
it was on loan?
Do you think Cobs can turn it around, or is Heathens going to go and seal the deal?
It's a tight one, because you see, the problem is when you're playing against history, it's something that messes up your psyche when you go on the field. As we are fans, so we can't really tell these things. We're like, why, just go and hammer and whatever. But there are very many things that need to come into play. When first of all, Cobs is having to overcome an 11-point deficit, which means in the first 20 minutes, you would expect them to have like maybe 6 points or maybe 9 points. So the points chase is going to be very, very important. And this is what I want to tell Cobs fans, that it may frustrate you a bit that the Cobs is going for the points very early in the game when the opportunities that the line out is okay, the scrum we're pushing them. Be patient, because they need to first build that. They need to first overcome that deficit. It's like you're the one who does betting. What is it called? A handicap? Is it handicap or what? So you're starting from negative.
Why are you talking about things you don't understand?
I'm just trying to beat it. So you start from negative 11.
Yeah.
So now you're going now to get to 0.
Yeah.
And then you start actually scoring.
Yeah.
So those who are going to watch the game have to be very mindful that it's going to be one that they have to take time to get comfortable with. Heathens will very much be comfortable that at home no one passes them, save for Pirates that did last season.
Yeah.
But I think also depends on the rain. If it's a rainy day, you don't write out Cobs. On a rainy day, you never write them off. They know how to scrummage very well. And the fact that Heathens had an issue with scrummaging last weekend, if it rains, it's going to be a long day. How the rain affects and translates into Cobs winning is another issue. But I think with the rain falling and the impact it will have is that Heathens would very much be comfortable defending. It's like Uganda, I think in 2012, went and lost 12-0 in Kenya and won the Elgon Cup. So with the rain, Heathens would very much be comfortable. But I don't want it to rain. I want to see the Sevens guys go toe-to-toe on that white turf on dry conditions.
Okay. Of course, from everything you've said, I want to talk about Cobs being aggressive.
Yes.
Aggressive in that second half. That second leg rather. Especially when it comes to the points, as many points as they can get. Because just looking at what Issa Matrix shared with us, between Sempeke, just penalties alone.
Yes.
Between Sempeke and Joseph Aredo, those were 6 attempts, not converted, but 6 attempts in general. And then Malcolm Okello alone had 7 attempts. So I don't think that Cobs should be comfortable having Heathens have more attempts than them at goal in whatever situation it is in that second leg, knowing that they're ones trailing and needing to overturn a score. That's my opinion. And then also one thing you talked about Morgan Odoch being like a small generator. I remember sometime talking to his big brother Byron Oketayot, who's currently in South Africa in a camp for the Uganda Rugby Cranes 15s, and he said that, man, sometimes when I see my kid brother train, I think that it's like there's a war coming up, because for him, he believes he does what is essential, but his brother does what is essential and some. So he also fears his young brother and the kind of work he puts in that gym.
They say he's a boxer. Well, he used to be a boxer.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a tweet saying that, so you can imagine that energy. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, let's quickly jump into second semi-final, first leg that was in Ginger, the Dam Waters, which was 28-27. Hippos beating the Pirates and scoring a try at the death. This was a game that was very weird because in the first half, Pirates looked comfortable. In the second half, Hippos looked like they had taken charge. But what is not identified or noted is the fact that the dominance for Pirates was like from minute 25 to minute, let's say, 55.
Yes.
The beginning of the game and towards the end of the game was chaos and all anarchy in favor of the Hippos, who are trying to force Pirates to play their game, and Pirates gave in and played their game, of course, under very, very hot conditions.
Yeah.
So the Hippos thrive better than the Pirates. Of course, in this one, tries were by Elvis Opira in the first half, Jacob Ochen, who has been scoring ever since his return, and then Mukisa as well. For the Pirates, it was Magomo, it was Kisiga, and it was Bagota. All these tries were in the first half for the Pirates. They did not score any tries in the second half. When it comes to conversions, of course, Elvis Opira was 2 out of 3. Magomo was 3 out of 3. They did score good positional tries, so he got easier kicks. When it comes to the penalties, Elvis Opira had some tough penalties, but he was 3 out of 3, and Magomo was 2 out of 2. So it was a contest. But I'd like to say that this is something we talked about, of course, when it comes to when it came to the space. Hippos was very intense in the way they approached the game from the start, putting Pirates on pressure, making sure that a few mistakes here and there are forced, and then trying to convert those mistakes into points. The few issues that came up were in the back three for Hippos, between Bruno Chisule and Aziz Bagalan, who had dropped back as a number 9 to help the back three. There was a bit of miscommunication there. So many times they were dropped balls, and then Timothy Kisiga punishes them with his chip and chase and score.
Yeah.
Ivan Magomu, it was individual brilliance. And then the third try, Bagota, was also a case of we have put pressure, and then Bagota gets to score on the outside. But however, aside from that, I did not see much structural play and the way they were trying to strategize to open up the Hippos. On the other side, I could see what Hippos was trying to do with their big ball carriers, from trying to split up the big boys from one pod to the other. In one pod, you'd find David Wako. In a second pod, you'd find Jacob Ochen, and then special mentions to, of course, the props, Fahad Maido and James Okello. Oh yeah, those two. I think the one communication that went to the Hippos is the fact that we have to be as physical as possible when it comes to this particular game. And at some point they had lost the plot because it was quite a significant gap at halftime. I think it was about 24-10 if I'm not mistaken. But the communication at halftime was keep being relentless, keep going. And the fact that Damoters has become a fortress was so impressive to see them come back down from 10. I mean, against Pirates with such a score, if it is not Cobs or Heathens, many guys write off the rest of the teams. But this time, Hippos really came back from that and won it at the death. Ayman Bagalana, a young man that has been thrown at number 10 in the absence of John Echeru, found himself that this season especially that he has to grow up fast. And in that game, first half, he was very, very mistake-laden, I should say. But in the second half, he focused on the basics. He first of all gave away some of the responsibilities, such as kicking for touch to Elvis Opira, who was very immaculate on the day. I've just looked at isometric stats for the playoffs. Elvis Opira, who was the understudy to Yasin Waswa in regards to kicking, he's currently the top points scorer
in the playoffs.
Yeah. But Ayman Bagalan had to give away all those responsibilities of kicking and focus on one thing, ball playing. And the one thing that he and his brother at number 9, Aziz Bagalan, did well was move the ball. Make sure that all phases or all pods are getting the ball from one end of the pitch to the other. So Hippos was moving the ball from one end to the other and doing the right thing, finding the right territory, playing in the right half. It is very interesting to find out in that second half that Pirates visited the 22 of the Hippos, if I'm not mistaken, not more than 2 times. All the rugby was being played in the Pirates half, and it was, for some reason, I don't know why, between Bujo and when Brian Ochan came on with Ivan Magomu, they couldn't find good territory, and it was a game in which Hippos really put on that pressure in the second half to come back. So it was great to see. Great carrying, and then also the Hippos getting the job done. 28-27, however, is a 1-point score, so which makes it as close as 0-0.
Like 0-0, yes.
Yeah. But it builds up for a beautiful second leg at Kings Park Arena, I mean.
Yeah, many people are confused which one to go and watch. Do they go and watch the 11-point comeback or 11-point added on with more points onslaught? Or you come and watch a game that is nearly 0-0, but with just 1 point on the line? I think that game, very much importantly, is going to come down to like nearly 3 things.
Yeah.
Box kicking is going to be very important in this game, considering knock-ons have been one of the things that were highlighting Ginger.
Yeah.
Depending on the way that when you execute the box kick right, the ball can hang in the air in Kings Park for quite some time. Gives you enough time to chase and whatever. And Kisiga is a master of that kick and chase.
Oh, Kisiga knocked on 3 balls in that game.
Yes.
From the back. That is one of the things that shocked people so much.
Yes. Give it the breeze of the lake, the river, or whatever. So now you see, you are looking at box kicking being important. Now, where the Pirates suffer that is that their guy, Conrad Wanyama, is not around, who is the master of that. So you're now going to ask Brian Ochan, who is the conventional short ball 9, to start the kick, the box kicking. And why I think it's important is that it's going to put pressure on Hippos.
Yeah.
You see, what Pirates needs to do in this particular game to win it is that you need Hippos to make mistakes. Hippos actually are the ones on pressure because they have to come back and win. Yeah. To guarantee that they need to be in place. So what happens is when you need to win is that now in that particular instance you have to slow down your game a bit. Yeah. That means your formidable players are going to play longer, which means they need to pace themselves in this particular fixture. One of the ways of pacing yourselves is the box kicks. Yeah. Give yourself time, let your backs chase that, put your forwards on side. That's what Razi was calling the French, go here, they just turn around. So let your props just turn around on the field and engage in the scrums majorly. I think that's going to be the major issue. If benches are not going to change, we're assuming the lineups are going to remain the same, but for any injuries that occurred. What Hippos has shown is that they can take on Pirates 23 and give them a run for their money. But what we should not forget is that even before Hippos scored, Pirates was winning. Yeah. That's something that Pirates, in their mind, should go back and focus on. That bar this mistake, we were actually in the leads. We had managed to hold the game. We only scored 3 points in the second half, but we managed to still hang on for that long, but our legs gave way. Yeah. So how do we get back into this particular fixture and be able to withstand the pressure from Hippos? Hippos, I think they will need to just come and play a very comfortable, swift game. That's why if it rains, it would very much favor them, because in that condition, they can manage to play as a big boy game as they can. Pirates, I think looking at the stats, I think kicking is going to be important. Yeah. And if the either kicker goes off radar, they will be the ones to go on the microphone interview and say the loss is on me. So the kicking is going to be very important as well. That's area number 2. The kicking for points is going to be very important. A conversion, considering how tight the score is, a conversion, a penalty kick is going to be very important. There is always that joke we always say at KPA that when I think you attack the second half, if you attack the second half facing the other side of not the other pitch, but the other bush or thicket behind, you're easier because the wind is behind you and you can easily kick. But if you're attacking the other pitch where we usually park, the wind is blowing against your kick. So that will affect you. So even the captains have to be mindful of that. And then the third one is going to be basically penalty count, infringements. The thing that gives the less infringements, this sounds very obvious, trying to make it sound very smart. But the team that gives the less infringements will win the game.
Yeah.
Infringements get you platform to clear out of your territory, gets you a platform to take the 3 points, and you can be able to beat your opponent at that point. So those 3 areas, the kicking, the box kicking, as well as the infringements. The players from both teams, from what they showed on the first leg, is that they can play. So that's going to be the main 3 areas, in my view, that I think needs to be, if you're to win the game, you need to have 2 out of 3 of those.
Okay. I think in my perspective, the one thing that Pirates will be generally concerned about is the fact that their forwards, especially their tight 5, got tired way earlier in the game and they were outworked by the Hippos forwards. One of the things from a conversation I was having was the fact that Pirates has always had a back row that works like crazy. And somehow there's always someone in that second row as well that also is like a back row. So you'd find on a good day they have 4 or 5 guys that are back row-esque. But this time round they proper had heavy boys from 1 to 5 who tired out. So, and the work was done between the 3 guys who could not be at every point as compared to the entire 8 back rows for the Hippos. So, and that is something that I don't know if Coach Marvin will be back because he has been missing for the last 2 games due to work commitments. But if he's back, that is the first thing he needs to rectify this week as we are building into, of course, the semi-final second leg. And for Hippos, really, I think it's just a case of game management, whether it is dry weather or it's wet weather. How can they be able to be the first team to get points on board and make sure that they know it is 1? It's a gap of 1 right now. How can they keep it in a gap of 3? So that you're keeping Pirates chasing. You don't have to do too many complicated things. Just make sure that your kickers are on point. Every opportunity you get, you're playing in the right half and you are scoring the proper points.
So the best result for Ginger would be a draw even.
Yeah.
As
good as a draw.
Get a draw and you're done.
Yeah, but there's so much we can talk about, but we'll save the all that we have for the finale of the final. Before we even confirm where the final is going to be, we'll save that for that so that we have a proper conversation. But yeah, we have talked about the semi-final first leg. We have talked about the women's premiership. Congratulations to the Black Pearls. We have talked about the Uganda Sevens and the Uganda Red Crane Sevens as well. So thank you for being part of this episode of the Fat Cats podcast here at the Gardens, Nigeria. And cheers. See you guys next time.
See you.
Signaling you to close by saying you're going to join them in the workout.
I was also hoping that you were